Welcome back to Comic Book Nation, the only show that does it all for geek culture and the official podcast of ComicBook.com. I am your host, Kofi Outlaw, and I am in CB Studios down here in Nashville today. But the rest of my crew is off in their home studios. We have Matthew Aguilar.
What's up, everybody?
Janelle Wheeler.
Hi, hi. Happy to be here.
And Mr. Connor Casey.
What up?
So, if you guys are just now getting into Comic Book Nation and joining us for our regular live show this Friday, be sure you are also up on our bonus content that we dropped in the last week. There's been a lot of it. We've been at it. We have to do it all for geek culture, and that's a big job sometimes. So, be sure you are subscribed to Comic Book Nation on your favorite podcast platforms and on our YouTube page. That's youtube.com/comicbook, all one word, -nation. We have spoiler reviews for every episode of Star Wars Ahsoka out there now, so make sure you go listen to those so you catch up, because as we're going to talk about in a minute, we have a big pivotal episode of Star Wars coming up this week. It's even going to be shown in special ways. So make sure you are all caught up on our Ahsoka discussion so you can jump in with us this week on Wednesday. Also, our One Piece review. If you are just getting to the end of Netflix's One Piece live action series, we had a great talk about that with one of our comicbook.com anime experts. So be sure to also download that episode and listen to it in addition to this one. But if you're here, let's talk about what we're doing today on our regular show. If you're seeing the title, we will be reviewing the next installment of the Conjuring universe, which is the Nun II. We have to talk about some big things in news, including some big trailers and some big Star Wars news. Our main event today, we'll be dropping our fall movie preview. And if you guys listen to the show, you know we do it in the format of taking each of our top two picks. We don't tell each other what they're going to be. We send them into the producers, and we do kind of live reveals here on the show. So we're going to see what everybody picked as their top two movies coming out this fall. Ain't a whole lot of them, but we'll tell you what we're looking forward to. Plus, we have comics talk today. We got some big things happening over in comics, and we got to get to all of that. So let's jump right up at the top. And Janelle, you have some news for us regarding Star Wars Ahsoka.
Yes, I feel like an ever-growing fan of Star Wars now. I am very excited to announce some good news. I love it when I have something good to share. And it is now been confirmed that Ahsoka episode 5 is actually going to be showing in select theaters, which to me is absolutely insane. This is going to be on September 12th, and there's 10 cities that are being selected, and I'm kicking myself that I'm not visiting my parents next week because one of those locations is Orlando, but we've got Los Angeles, New York, Seattle, Boston, and Orlando. And I just feel like that's going to be something really spectacular. There will also be a couple international cities, including London, Bangkok, and Sao Paulo. I hope I'm saying that right. And yeah, I think that you also get a movie poster, which looks fantastic. And it does have the confirmed Anakin is actually in the artwork, which is really cool because now that's been spoiled for everyone. So yeah, this is exciting. If it was here, would you guys go?
Oh, I mean, absolutely.
Yeah, totally.
Let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. So, like I said, we did a whole spoilers breakdown for every episode of Ahsoka, including this latest one, episode 4. But episode 5 is going to be quite possibly one of the biggest game-changing moments of Star Wars we've seen in the last year, both because like what's happening, and this is going to be a spoilers discussion. Spoilers. On both sides of the storyline. Ahsoka meeting Anakin in the world between worlds, however that plays out, however Anakin is there, this will be the first time we presumably get to hear Anakin Skywalker speak post Darth Vader and reflect on all those experiences and everything that happened with Ahsoka. They never got to talk at the end of the Clone Wars. This is probably like one of the most important conversations we're going to hear in Star Wars, so that's a big deal. I know Rich is over there freaking out. I know he was feeling some kind of emotions. Our producer, Richard, is a Star Wars fan, and I know he was losing his mind when he saw Anakin come on screen at the end of this. And so I know he's geeked up and ready, and so are a lot of you out there. So that's going to be a big deal. And the other side of it is we're going to a whole new galaxy. And that's also Sabine Wren and Morgan Elsbeth and all those guys are going to be going to a new galaxy. And we will hopefully it's not just Ahsoka and Anakin in the World Between Worlds. I could see that being a bottle episode, but hopefully we do get at least some reveal of where they jetted off to into this new galaxy, and we can start to put to bed some of this stuff. Because I had to write a whole piece the other day or yesterday. Wow, these days have been long. About how no, this is not the start of a Star Wars multiverse. I'm going to put myself out there, and if I take the L, I'll take the L. Guys, if anything, both of these storylines feel very much like they are pulling from Star Wars Rebels and from the EU. First of all, let's talk about this new galaxy thing, because people are thinking it's like a parallel universe. Come on, bro. You guys have been doing too much Marvel and DC in lately. Like, another galaxy just means that it's some weird place outside the known regions of the Star Wars galaxy, right? This is also like one of the biggest things. If you ever read anything about the EU, and I made these guys start to look up this craziness on our full spoilers podcast. There's two big things that happened. There was the Thrawn trilogy, and then there was the Yuzan Vong War, which was this huge, all-encompassing war that had these strange, warlike people from outside, from another galaxy. Theirs had died, and they found the Star Wars galaxy, kind of creeped out and lurked outside of it, looking at it, kind of assessing everything, and then they launched this coordinated attack against the universe. And they nearly conquered it. Chewbacca got killed. Jason Solo had to step up. There was a lot of stuff that happened that was real famous. So, and of course, they're not going to be paying, we've discussed this, they're not going to be paying these EU guys the money to pull out the actual Yuzan Vong. I'll be surprised if they do that. But the idea that Thrawn's been out there, there's some weird warlike species out there, and they're going to invade the galaxy from this other galaxy it's established. There's a precedent for that in Star Wars. So, Brywood, you getting deep. Brywood's in the comments talking about the Nihil. The Nihil, the warlike species from the High Republic, that would be a real kind of way to get the High Republic in there and get people interested in that. That'd be crazy. But yeah, there's all kinds of ways of precedent of Star Wars saying the unknown regions is called the unknown regions, and there's scary stuff that can come from out of there. So no, we're not doing a whole multiverse war. And like I said, something like a take on the Yuzan Vong War, something you can do, have it be a threat, because that war, the first beachhead was the Outer Rim territories, basically where Mando and all those people hang out at the last, because they had to fight and protect the rest of the galaxy from being overrun. So if you're talking about something that could support an event film, it's more likely that Thrawn has some kind of weird new species army out of there that people are, that they'll be able to introduce, sell toys, new ships, new weapons, do all that, but it'll be wrapped up enough in the Mandoverse that they get pushed back out of the universe by the time, the New Republic and all that stuff goes, before the First Order rises, and we can wrap this all up. So that's one thing. In the World Between Worlds, guys, let's just be clear. That is a time travel device, right? It's not a multiple variant timelines. Again, you guys have been doing too much Kanging out here. It's not like infinite variations. We saw, and if you watch Rebels, at the end of season 2, Ahsoka's fighting Vader, and she seemingly dies in that duel. In season 4, it's revealed that Ezra goes back in time through this world to that moment and literally yanks her out of time and space into the World Between Worlds and saves her from dying. But this is Star Wars, so that's like the destiny, the will of the Force or whatever, was for her to live, and she gets basically transported to the present day of Rebels season 4 from Rebels season 2 finale. So I think that's just going to be, that's all to say. The World Between Worlds here is just going to be Ahsoka traveling through time and space through an impossible little crazy ghost doorway and showing up Rick and Morty style through a portal to help save the day. So can we just stop with the multiverse things?
I understand your anger. I understand it. However, I would just like to, we can't get mad at people because we talked about when we talked about the premiere of Ahsoka, right? It's awesome that it's okay that there's homework, that there's other things that maybe you should watch ahead of time to get more out of it. And because I love that. I'm like, it should be unapologetically whatever show it wants to be. So if it wants to start bringing in some of that stuff, great. But we then can't yell at people for not knowing all the intricacies to that. So the multiverse idea is now so well known and so easy to go to because of Marvel. I understand why some people kind of ran with it. Is it correct? No, I agree with you wholeheartedly. But I'm just saying, like, we can't yell it. We can't have it both ways. We have to be okay that some of that's going to happen because they don't know. Just saying.
No, I think as somebody pointed out in the comments, though, it's a semantics thing. Like, people hear galaxy and they think reality. And I'm like, when did we start calling other galaxies? Like, people got to study their astronomy.
That's
and
true.
Stuff.
That's completely true.
We are one galaxy, guys. Like, there are other galaxies.
I agree.
Anyway, Musa. Let's bring it back down. So, yes, obviously, guys, we will have a lot to talk about Ahsoka episode 5 next week. Be sure you're on that show. And if you're lucky enough to live in a city that has a theatrical screening, go do it, because I bet you're going to hear or see some stuff that you're going to be want to be with other Star Wars fans experiencing. So I would check that out. Connor, let's take an easier topic we can all agree with, Connor.
What would that be, Kofi?
Anime, of course. Anime, never volatile. But
is it technically anime or is it just animation? Because I never
we're talking
know.
About Castlevania. I'm so
yeah. We're talking about Castlevania Nocturne. I just don't know if this studio is Japan based or not. Anyway, so Castlevania Nocturne dropped a new trailer this week. The season comes out at the end of the month. As I kind of alluded to when the teaser trailer dropped, this was something I did a big old deep dive into back when the original Netflix series was coming out. This looks like more of the same. It looks like a hell of a lot of fun set during the French Revolution. My only thing, Kofi, and maybe, I don't know, I know you have a bit of experience with the series. I'm a little confused as to what we're trying to do with this one because we're adapting Rondo of Blood and Symphony of the Night. Those are the two games that keep getting brought up in all of the advertising, even though the showrunners keep saying we're taking this in a different direction. Because when you look at the events of those games, everything that seems to be happening in this first season, Richter showing up, them wanting to revive the vampire messiah, 2 guesses as to who that might be. It all feels like it's leading up to, hey, we're going to do the Alucard versus Dracula thing, except we did that in the first season of the last Castlevania series. So I don't have a freaking clue where we're going with this. I'm just excited.
Talking to me? Were you talking to me right there? Sorry, I'm watching this Legacy of Monsters.
I'm
sorry,
I'm trying to
question.
if you have a guess as to what we're doing with this show, because
I mean, at this point, I think they're doing whatever. That we're going to Dracula.
It's that's where all of the source material would lead you to, because this is Castlevania, and that's where it kind of always winds up. But it doesn't sound like they want to do that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, at this point, I had trust in the first Castlevania because of the creative team behind it, like my boy Adi Shankar and all of that. And it feels like this one is a very new kind of take that they're doing. So I'm not there yet to endorse it. I just know that Symphony of the Night is like one of the best Castlevania / games that I ever enjoyed. And I really hope they don't screw it up. But
which is another big question, because there's no Alucard, and that's the key role player in all of that.
Yeah, I feel like they keep alluding to him without showing him or like kind of doing it. But if they don't, it's a little confusing. I mean, check out the trailer, I guess. I'm more excited about this thing I was sitting over here lost in, which is the trailer that just dropped, like right now before we got in here. You want to take that one, Connor?
Oh, yeah. We got a new Monarch trailer. Big Grumpy Godzilla is back, and I'm happy. And so is John Goodman, and so is the Russell father-son duo. We don't see much of Wyatt. We get a little bit more of Kurt. But between this and whatever the hell Godzilla -1 is supposed to be, which looks freaking terrifying, we're eating good in the monster universe right now, even if those Japanese ones don't count.
Yeah, is they having Wyatt Russell play the younger version of Kurt Russell in this?
Yeah, that's the idea.
That's awesome. That is awesome. That's funny. But no, I mean, I have been a big fan of the MonsterVerse. Like, I was even down with the first Godzilla movie, even for all 5 minutes of Godzilla we got in it.
And for all 5 minutes of Bryan Cranston.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
not okay with that
Oh
one.
no, I knew he was dying. I was like, Bryan Cranston ain't gonna be in this movie. Bryan Cranston at that time in Breaking Bad was notorious for just showing up in movies for like 2 minutes and peacing out. But I'm sorry, somebody was about to say something.
No, I was trying to think of what was the remake he was in for like 5 minutes during the last season. Colin Farrell. It was a Schwarzenegger remake.
Oh, Total Recall.
Total Recall. That was it.
Yeah. He played the less interesting version of the guy who didn't have a mutant in his chest. So, hey, but I like the MonsterVerse. I really kicked into it though with Kong Skull Island, which was like this dark horse came out of nowhere, and we were all like, oh, because Peter Jackson's King Kong had reigned supreme for so long, and everybody was like, you're doing like a B movie Kong movie, like it's not going to be. And it turned out to be pretty awesome. Like, I still love Kong Skull Island. It's one that I can rewatch a lot. And yeah, I mean, that whole segment of the franchise was always more interesting to me than like what we got with like Godzilla, King of the Monsters, or even the Godzilla versus Kong stuff, which started to bring in some of that interesting kind of Skull Island, Hollow Earth stuff a little bit. But this looks like it's going to be a good time. Like, I liked the Monarch of it all, and I like early Monarch, like the John Goodman, Corey, what's his name? Guy who played Dr. Dre. I always forget his name. But like, I liked their storyline, and then the ending of them building Monarch as like Shield. That part always appealed to me. I got to do the set visit for Godzilla 2 or for King of the Monsters, and like that was like, there was so much of it that was just focused on like the lore building of Monarch and all this stuff. So I'm glad this spin-off TV series, and it looks like they're putting the budget behind this to make this look like it could actually fit in one of the films, and even pulls stuff that looks like it's seamlessly coming from one of the films. So yeah, I'm excited about this one.
The big guy,
Apple TV low-key hits, man.
The big guy is in it, and he's not like hidden in smoke. Like, you get to see the full frame. Like, we're getting Godzilla on TV. That's nuts.
Yeah, no, and I'm hearing you in the comments that I was just about to say, but Apple TV low key hits, guys. Like, there's a low key a lot of good hits on Apple TV. So as Damon Stream says, it's pretty solid. It is the solid one, and the good,
and it's the cheapest one, isn't it?
For your book. What's that?
It's the cheapest one, isn't it? Isn't it like $4.99?
$4.99. Yeah, it's the best bang for your buck you're gonna get.
Can't get that.
Yeah, so if you haven't been getting into Apple TV yet, like, there's a good reason to, and you'll find other good stuff that's been hanging out on there. But yeah, I'm in for this MonsterVerse, this version of it at least. So that's a bit of news. Now let's move on to our main review of the day. So I went out and spent my hard-earned money to go see the 9th installment of the Conjuring franchise. 9th, if you guys can believe that. If you want a recount of how that's possible, there have been 3 Conjuring movies, 3 Annabelle movies. That's 6.
3 Annabelles? Freaking hell.
Yep. 3 Annabelles. Annabelle Creation, and Annabelle Comes Home. That trilogy has already been done. There are now 2 Nun movies. That's 8, and The Curse of La Llorona, the Latin-themed spinoff that was a surprise reveal Conjuring movie, is the 9th. So there have been 9 of these. In the Nun II, I am writing in my review that will be up probably right after this, is the moment where I'm like, yeah, they have stretched this franchise way, like, so thin that it's almost aggravating. Not to spoil anything, but the Nun 2 ain't going to be the end. The Nun 2 is just a middle chapter in what is clearly going to be the Nun trilogy, which is absurd. It's absolutely absurd. Like, none of this makes sense. We already know what happens with Valak in the Nun in the end, because it's the whole plot of the Conjuring 2, right? And it was this demon that they exorcise. They tell you in the first film, the guy who's the star of the Nun series, they save at some point that I guess we're going to see in a 3rd film. But this is just literally a middling chapter about like Valak on its way to the Warrens, and from the first film. And it's very strange. The pacing is weird. The storyline approach is weird because it's like half Maurice's story, half Sister Irene's story, and none of them really hit. Maurice's story is kind of boring. It's like this boarding school where he's like making doe eyes at this single mom the whole time, even though he's a freaky killer demon. And so it's just kind of the positive thing I had to say about it is the director, Michael Chavez, has directed now The Conjuring 3, and The Curse of La Llorona. And so he's got like a pretty good handle on what these movies are. And visually, it's a much better improvement than the first film, which was shot like a film school student did it. But this one is at least competently directed. The sequences are creepy. He knows how to make Valak and the shadows and the creepy eyes and barely seeing the face kind of feel freaky. But again, like it's the storyline that they had to try to hammer out of this. And it even has like my girl Akilah Cooper on the script writing, who did Megan and has done a bunch of other good stuff that she's an up-and-coming talent. But yeah, this is just like, you guys are stretching so hard to make more of these Conjuring movies now that it's not even fun. It was just like, what was the point of that by the end? Was my question. It's like, yeah, it's getting a little too wild. Just wrap up some of these things and like introduce some new characters, because we're just been spinning our wheels with the same people we met in The Conjuring 2 for like how long now? It's getting a little silly, man.
I asked this week, I was like, Kofi, is there anything I need to watch for the podcast? And he goes, The Nun. And I was like, absolutely not.
Oh no, that was just wishful thinking that somebody else would go out and also do these movie watchings, and it's not just me having to kind of slog through some of
horror
this stuff.
is not my vibe. You know that. I would rather watch anime than horror.
Ooh,
Wow.
We do it.
There's
Hey,
no need to jab anime.
Yeah, we do it. And I don't know what you think you signed up for, but we do it all for geek culture. So, you know, it's going to be, and it's spooky season. So I don't know what you non-horror people are about to do in the next few weeks, but
go on
welcome
vacation
to the party.
Watch
There
a
you
lot
go.
of Frasier is what I'm going to prepare.
Yeah.
I got to prepare.
I'm
The
watching
Frasier,
Suits.
the Frasier is coming. The revival.
Oh God.
Oh boy. All right. Well, that's my review of The Nun II. I haven't given it like a star rating yet. I'd probably say 2.5 out of 5. Now that I said it, I guess I'll stick to that when I publish this review. So there you go. The Nun II. See it if you want, but this is the one you probably wished was on HBO Max same day rather than in theaters. But hopefully the rest of the horror movies this fall will be better. And we're going to talk about that right when we come back for an ad. So stay tuned, because when we get back, we drop our fall movie preview picks and surprise each other. Plus, we have some big comics to talk about this week. This is Comic Book Nation. Stay tuned. Back. Welcome back to Comic Book Nation. If you just missed half of the show, we talked about the news about Star Wars Ahsoka getting shown in theaters and everything we predict might happen in this pivotal episode. Plus, we talked about the new trailers for Castlevania Nocturne and Monarch, Legacy of Monsters. Plus, I gave you my 2.5 out of 5 review of the Conjuring universe's latest release, The Nun II. Go back and listen if you've missed any of that, because right now we are moving into the fall movie preview. So it's fall time. Leaves are already starting to change. Schools are back in session. It's time to get that summertime out of your mind. And it's time to start talking about what we're going to get in theaters this fall. Obviously, this is a very different kind of year, guys, because we are in the midst of the writers and actors strike still. So there have been a lot of movies already pushed who didn't think they'd be able to promote, like Dune 2, pushed to next year. We don't know if there's going to be further delays, but we're going with the schedule we got right now and kind of just laying down what we have. And as you'll see, I mean, content is going to be limited this fall. So choose wisely. I think we did choose wisely. Hopefully. But let's start at the top. It goes Connor, Janelle, me, then Matt, as usual. So Connor, Casey, please reveal your fall movie picks.
So my picks are Ferrari and Napoleon, both coming out later this year. Cove, if you had asked
fancy ass guy.
This
is another Fraser.
If you had asked me at the start of the year, what would the fall picks be? Number one with a bullet would have been Dune Part 2. But now that that's getting bumped out to March of next year, that's looking like it might be the last big release we get until this strike is over. So I'm combing through what's left. And there's kind of a common theme with both of these in that it's two directors, and Michael Mann and Ridley Scott, where you're either going to get a movie of the year contender or you're getting Exodus, Gods and Kings and the Miami Vice remake, and you're going, what the actual are you looking at?
I like Miami Vice remake. Everybody chill out.
I knew one of you was going to pike up about that one, but fine. So fine. Alien Covenant. There's my answer. Yeah, these guys are not consistent, but when they're on, they are 1,000% on. You have Ridley Scott covering Napoleon, one of history's greatest weirdos, and you have Joaquin Phoenix portraying him. This guy has the opportunity to give us, if y'all thought Joker was an interesting performance, try the French guy who considered himself an emperor and was just a weird freaking dude and is going to get bullied by Vanessa Kirby the entire time. Meanwhile, over in Ferrari, Enzo Ferrari is an interesting figure in the world of racing and the world of automobile history. If you ever saw Ford versus Ferrari, he was the old guy who basically told Ford to shove it at the beginning of the movie when Ford tried to buy Ferrari Racing, and that led to that whole thing with Shelby and whatnot. You've got Adam Driver, one of, I think this man is a walking refrigerator and yet also one of Hollywood's most interesting actors. So I'm thrilled to see what he does with this. I kind of hope that they walk it all the way up to the point in Ford versus Ferrari where Henry Ford is like, hey, can I just buy you? And he goes, screw off. We're going to keep racing. This one's already gotten a little bit of, International Film Festival hype. Apparently Penelope Cruz is like a show stealer in this whole thing. It's been a minute since we've been able to say that. And I'm really excited to see what both of these can come up with. I know this isn't the usual comic book fair. I don't even know what kind of coverage we're going to give either of these, but I'm really interested to see what we come up with.
Lucky you on Comic Book Nation right now. So
Ferrari was on my list too. Like I thought we had to put in 3, so that was number 3 for me.
Oh, there you go.
I'm with you on that. I'm an F1 girly, so yay. Is it my turn? Do I go?
Yes.
Yay. All right.
Alphabetical and whatnot.
Well, my 2 picks are pretty mainstream. And I think it's, the slim pickings, what Kofi said. I was scrolling through this list of like, oh, well, I know like the main ones that are coming out. What else do we got? And I was just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. And I was like, I am not going to be happy until December, basically, aside from the Marvels. So the Marvels is obviously my first pick. Very excited about the Marvels, yes. And I don't want to go too much into it because I would imagine, Matt, that this is on your list. I would hope so. No?
No, it isn't.
So I will save all of the hype building for Matt because this is Matt's wheelhouse, and I'm so excited for Matt and myself because I am now a new huge Carol Danvers fan. I think that going into this, from my perspective, after reading tons of comics with her, I think is going to be totally different than I went into her first film and not really being familiar with the character and not loving like the movie as much. I really feel like this is going to be a huge turning point for me being so familiar with the comic and all these characters in the comic. So I'm really excited about that. My second pick is Wonka. I have the biggest sweet tooth you can possibly imagine. I was one of the kids that grew up singing like "Don't care how I want it now." Like I was like just having a ball. I would watch Willy Wonka several times every year of my life, usually around the holidays. And so this kind of origin story gets me very, very excited. I also love Timothy Chalamet. And then what I'm confused about and what I was going to ask you guys really quickly is, where does this land within like the Johnny Depp stuff? Are we just like canceling that out completely, like it never even existed?
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Does not matter. The real question with this movie is, can Timothy Chalamet sing? Because this is low-key a musical.
It's a musical. That's the other reason why I love it.
They didn't really advertise that when the first trailer came out, which concerns me a little bit.
It's interesting, right? Well, did it like in High School Musical, like we had a lot of lip syncing to actual vocalists, so maybe, and also like Beauty and the Beast, she was terrible. Like the vocals were not good at all. And I still loved the film. So
well, I'm just saying, Gene Wilder would never do something.
Yeah.
So you got to live up to that.
So, but I'm very excited about this one. And I think it's going to be perfect for the holidays. And I had, of course, there's more. I just want to leave space for everyone else, but I'm very excited about both of these. And I think that December is going to bring a lot of like the chunk of our viewing. I don't know, happy times, hopefully. Please don't delay anything else.
Okay.
Go.
Sounds like I'm up. So my two picks for the fall movie season are in order. I guess I'm the only one who went spooky, and I picked The Exorcist Believer. I think that this is David Gordon Green, who did the Halloween remake, is also doing this. And so I believe that he's going to do a good job with this. I'm very interested. The story wasn't what I expected when I saw the first trailer, but it was very interesting. I think already there are scenes in this that seem like they're going to stick out and be really kind of memorable and iconic. I like the cast that is in this film. And I think, what's his name? Is it Leslie Odom? But I think he's going to do a great job. And if you guys have been following us, like we have been on The Exorcist since the beginning of this podcast when the TV show came out, and we were talking about the TV show and how good that was. So I think The Exorcist is one of the best kind of like horror movies. I feel like this one is going to be, hopefully, just like we had with Evil Dead this year, a good kind of unique reboot that kind of honors the original but does its own thing. And I'm ready for a good scary movie in spooky season. My second pick, and you might not expect this, but here we are, is The Hunger Games: The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. For a long time, I was deep in that Hunger Games mania right before the first film came out. I got Suzanne Collins' books. I read through them. I sped through them pretty quickly. It was around the same times I was obsessed with that and Game of Thrones and all that 2010s madness. The Hunger Games movies were a big deal for me. I kind of cut my teeth and got out here and really had my first big breaks when I was over at Screen Rant doing junkets, like meeting Jennifer Lawrence and all those people and doing the junkets for those movies was a big deal to me. So I always enjoyed the movies, not Mockingjay Part 1. Nobody enjoyed that. But I always enjoyed the movies, the Hunger Games themselves, and how they're kind of like play out on screens. They're actually entertaining movies to watch. And this one is going to be interesting. I heard about it and I was like, how do you do a story about, Coriolanus Snow and how he becomes the biggest POS in Pan Am? But it's interesting. Like, I think that everything I've seen from this film, from like the larger political intrigue around it to a lot of the characters, when I started looking into the characters and how they fit into the later Hunger Games and the arcs we're going to see, that's interesting. And I think that Rachel Zegler is going to be really good as this new Lucy Greybeard or whatever her name is. I think she's going to do a good job and be a good character. And I think there's some unexpected things that are going to happen in this movie. Like because the history of President Snow and all this is kind of known if you really want to look at it. But I think this movie is going to be a little bit different than what people think. And I think it's going to be interesting about how we actually, and I think it might be able to pull off what good prequels should do, which a prequel should, done effectively, reframe what you thought you knew about this story, about the characters, and about how we got to where this famous story began, right? So I think there's going to be some twists in how the story unfolds that really might actually deepen your understanding of like President Snow and like where that journey was all about and like where people around him end up and what kind of sets the seeds and why he reacts to Katniss and District 12 and that second revolution and all that stuff we'll have deeper understanding. So I'm excited to see that. And yeah, those are my 2 picks for fall. Matthew, take it away.
Good picks, by the way. So Hunger Games was one that like I was curious about, and then Wonka was like my third. I would have it was like right there. I'm really excited for Wonka. So for me, yes, to no surprise of anyone, The Marvels is on my list. The other one might surprise you because I'm very excited for this. But first, let's start with The Marvels. Obviously, this is one that I'm kind of bated breath. I hope it sticks around. I hope this is actually a movie that comes out this year. If it is, I feel like it's going to be the fun and the I don't know, the joy that I feel like has been missing from the MCU more as of late. And I'm just really excited. I'm excited that, you know, it's been awesome to kind of be on this comics journey with Janelle, with Captain Marvel, because it's like I have someone that like really like sees like, oh, how fun the character can be, how cool the supporting cast is. So like I'm really excited for us to finally see that on the big screen, because now you have Kamala and also you have Monica. And I think it's just going to be a wonderful dynamic. I'm hoping that this sticks around, because this would be a nice send-off for the MCU in 2023 if it does. And then my other one is actually The Holdovers. So I actually wasn't super aware of this beforehand, but I was kind of moving through the things and watching trailers and kind of refreshing my brain. And this one's it's a story about they're all at a school, and obviously, you know, there's like a 2-week winter break in colleges and universities. And at this one, there are some people though that obviously don't leave because they just don't want to go home for Christmas, or they don't necessarily have family and things like that. So it's called The Holdovers because it's the people that stay at the school during the winter break. And it's like this curmudgeon, it's Paul Giamatti in this amazing curmudgeonly professor role, and like no one likes him and he's really strict. And then it's this student, and then also another lady who works at the school, and they're all kind of, it's this weird kind of pseudo makeshift family dynamic that they have, because they're the only ones around in this entire place. And so there's a lot of yelling, there's a lot of coming to understand people, and it's just it seems like it has a ton of heart. It's like perfect for that kind of time of year. I love this stuff as we get closer into the fall, and it just seems like a wonderful movie. You should definitely check out the trailer. I came away super excited. I'm very happy, and I think it's going to be just what I need kind of going into the end of this year. So these are my 2 picks, but Wonka for sure. Wonka looks super fun.
All right, those are our fall movie picks. If you guys have anything that we did not speak on, please let us know. You can find us at Comic Book Nation on Twitter, or drop a comment.
Peter's correct movie pick.
What the hell?
Wow.
Well, okay then.
Wow.
Both of those actually look really good too. The creator is interesting.
Yeah. Death Stranding, the movie.
Well done, Peter. Well done.
All right. Well, Peter's picks are in there too. All right, and those are our fall movie preview picks. Like I said, if we didn't hit something you loved, please do just let us know in the comments, or just kind of hit us up on at Comic Book Nation, and let's talk about it, because we don't always get everything you guys love, but we do it all for geek culture. Matt, in our final segment today, and my God, are we finally making good time on this show? Let's go over to comics.
Yes. So we started last week. We actually talked about Night Terrors and the ending of that, and Kofi mentioned a book in kind of passing that, you know, kind of built right off of the events of that, and it was a Batman centric book. And that one started the part 1, essentially, of the Gotham War. And so we didn't really get to talk about it, but this week, the part 2 of that, which is in Batman 137, came out. So if you haven't read that first part, there's enough in here to kind of pick up, but I do think, like, oh my God, you should go back and read that first part. First part was excellent. It's long, it's 50 pages, but to me, 137 is like 10 times better if you read that and know where all the arguments come from and things. Because I actually think there's this essentially stance between Bruce and Selina that we are seeing. And Selina has been not reforming criminals, but training them, and all these henchmen that worked for all these different villains.
I call it Robin Hooding.
Yeah, very much Robin Hooding. Yeah. She's been giving them training and also kind of giving them boundaries of like, hey, you can only rob from the super rich. You can't do all these things. Like, no crime is worth a death. Like, she's instilling all these different boundaries and rules. And Gotham has cleaned up. Like, crime is down like 70% or something like that. It's an absurd number. This has been happening all the while that after Night Terrors, Batman took a giant nap. Took like an 8-week nap. His body was just exhausted, and he's been out. He's been fine. He's not been like in a coma, but he's just been out. So when he wakes up, like, Gotham is much different, right? We're talking about those effects from Night Terrors. And essentially, Selina offers a proposal in that last issue of like, hey, we'll continue to do this work. You just have to leave us alone. Like, essentially, like, don't go arresting my people. Don't go do all that. And obviously, Batman has a giant issue with that, but not the rest of the Bat family. There's a lot of conflict there. So in this issue, we pick up like right from there. We delve into a lot of the split between the Bat family and also Bruce. His consistent, like, he's losing control, and so many parts of his life are either not going according to plan or completely falling apart. And so he's overcompensating in a way and making arguments for it. So it's all that stuff. Like, this is the main battle between here, and that will kind of take over the rest of the series. I have immensely enjoyed these 2 issues. I think this one is fantastic. But again, I feel like it needs that other issue to really set the tone, because you're seeing Batman consistently keep going and going further and further away from this kind of softer version we've seen over the last year, I'd say. And he's going far into, like, you know, Zur and Ra's starting to kind of get involved, and there's teases of that. So I just think this argument, we talk about a lot about like event books, and like Civil War II comes up a lot as a punching bag, and it should, because it's not good. But Civil War II makes the mistake of not creating a compelling argument on both sides. One side is clearly right. And what I think they've done well here is, while Batman to me is going extreme and going overboard, you can still understand where he's coming from as far as his approach to crime. And Selina's also making valid points. And I think it creates a thing of like, you understand where everyone's coming from and why they're split. So I don't know. I think this issue follows up what was an excellent one last time. But what are you guys thinking? And also, I know Kofi did, but Janelle, did you have a chance to go read the other one, or did you come in this one clean?
So I read this one first.
Okay.
And then I was like, wait a minute. I mean, it made total sense and it was awesome and I loved it. But then I was like, I think I was maybe supposed to read the other one. So then I read the other one too. But I read them backwards.
But did it make a difference?
Yes, both great books, but like, you don't have to read the first one. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry. Like, it's pretty obvious why they're warring, and, you know, the perspectives, and that the family is like going through turmoil about it. But yeah, I mean, do you want me? I'll just give my review really quick since I'm already talking. This is so fun. Like, I know it's like really intense, but Batman he is such a hot mess to me in this one. And I really like it, because I like seeing a weak Batman. I like seeing a Batman who's just kind of like grappling with some issues, especially after what he just went through with Nightmare and all of that stuff, being asleep for so long, and kind of Gotham changing. I love it. And this is like the first time I think that I've ever read like a series and gone into the next immediately and like read it all the way through, all of the books. And it's just, the payoff is really, really nice. So yes, I'm enjoying this a lot. I think that it also, like, the whole Bat family's in it. Like, there's tons of, if you're tired of Batman, don't worry. There's like 20 others.
Yeah, and it's as much a Selena book, right? As it is
Yes,
about
and
Bruce.
she's awesome in it, and I'm on her side. So,
Kofi, what do you think?
I've been liking the Gotham War. I think I've kind of been upfront about that. I think I even mentioned it last week because I thought we were going to go over that one. But yeah, Gotham City, and I've written about this because I've been breaking these down. But Gotham City, we've read so many Batman things where Gotham City's been like, just in the last few years of us focusing on Batman, it's been like Bane took over the city and like wrecked it. Then Joker took over the city and wrecked it. Then, you know, Batman had this whole thing with failsafe activate and Penguin faking his death, and then got warped into the multiverse. Like, there's been a lot that happened in Gotham City in the last few years. Like, it's been through quite a lot of few changes. But like when we got to Joker War, I remember us talking, and my whole problem with that was you start this whole thing called like Joker War that was supposed to be like Joker taking over Gotham City, but it never felt that epic, and there was never really like a point to it, right? Like, what was Joker's like thematic and or like, you know, I never want to say moral with Joker, but like, what was his framework and what was this all about? It never made sense. And so how everybody was kind of acting and who was coming out of it, it didn't ever feel organized. This has a very organized and interesting thematic point, which is Batman was out of commission because of Night Terrors and Catwoman. And like I said, the thing about Night Terrors that was interesting was what new ideas would characters come up with kind of coming out of that. And they haven't related it directly to Night Terrors, but it's good timing that, you know, after this whole experience, Catwoman's like, maybe I am looking at, you know, crime and all this stuff different the wrong way. I've been thinking like Batman, and she's much more of a gray area character. I also love that it echoes like this other universe where we saw Catwoman in charge and like a crime boss. But the philosophical difference there is what drives this. And I love it because I love how they have this very simple thing that you can hold on to and how it's splitting all the characters, right? Like the Bat family alone, you have like Red Hood or Cassandra Cain, people who are more sympathetic to this idea or the gray area of solving crime fighting. Whereas, you know, Bruce is so dogmatic. People like Dick and Jason are just like trying to see, or Barbara are trying to get their heads around this all. But people like Bruce and then Damian are so dogmatic about like, you don't get to determine what crime is. And like, you know, this thing. And so it's an interesting discussion that makes us as fans even debate. Like, we won't all agree on this. Like, yeah, I'm down with like doing this in the Catwoman way. I got enough moral gray in me to be like, yeah, let's do it. But,
yeah, agreed.
Yeah. So, which is incidentally how I failed the policeman's tests, because they were like, you have way too much moral gray. And I was like, well, you got me. All right, well, thanks. So I went to the dubious world of entertainment instead. Yeah. And so that fact that it's driving, and the fact that it's between Bruce and Selena, who have been so close lately, and to see this kind of moral division between them, it also doesn't feel hokey because it rings true. That this would be the thing that gets in the way of these two's relationship. It always was the thing that would eventually get in the way of their relationship. And so I like that's playing out. And I like how they're kind of like almost like a married couple, like just taking hard shots at each other and like really doing damage to each other. And like, and it's been great. And just like the twists and turns to the Batman universe have been great. Is this because I've read so much lately in Joker comics and stuff. Is this the one that ends with the Wayne Manor reveal?
Yeah. With we can spoil it here. Vandal Savage.
Yeah. And we don't even know who that is. And I like that in all of this, they've been doing their own Batman onslaught type thing. Like if you get the reference to X-Men, like, because in the back of his mind, the Batman of Zur-En-Arrh is still like lurking. Yeah. This whole multiversal collection of them is still lurking in the back of Batman's mind. And it might be the person. He might have sold his own mansion. We don't know. So there's like a mystery, and there's a greater threat coming, which is Selena, and all this is probably going to push Bruce over the edge to a more militant, crazy Batman of Zur-En-Arrh taking over, and nobody being able to realize that like Bruce had this personality and it's just completely gone Jekyll and Hyde on us. So I'm in for it. And I like what it's doing. And it's not shying away from, like, this has been brutal. Like, Batman beat the living crap out of a bunch of Catwoman's criminals, and then had a brutal fight with the Bat family too, which was, that was just hearing him those panels of how to take them all down and stuff.
Yeah.
It's nuts, man. Like Tower of Babel we still here, baby. So
Yeah,
I'm liking this. This is one of my favorites.
I love how they did that fight. Because like and I love too, by the way, that it goes awry. He's constantly talking about contingencies. I have things, right? But like it's failing because I hope at some point he really like they run it through here, right? That like he's never really done this alone. He's always done this with other people, whether it was Alfred and then obviously the Bat family, right? So like this is really, if we're on the outs, aside from him and Damien, like that's, he doesn't have a lot to rely on. He's going to have to get used to that. And I like how we're coming at it from all sides. I will say that conversation in Catwoman's base with all of the Bat family without the masks, when she rips into him about the wedding and about all that stuff, I was like, oh, I winced. I was like, there's some hard truths coming out there. So yeah, excellent. Can't recommend it more. Connor, do you have a chance to read either of these? I can't remember. Okay, cool. Just didn't want to leave you out. Next, move into Birds of Prey, number 1, which is the much anticipated Kelly Thompson relaunch. Not really a relaunch, but launch of a new team. And this very much, Black Canary is the leader of this team. And as a result, she's the one that not only puts the team together, but the main mission is also very much related to her and Green Arrow. So if you're a big Green Arrow, Black Canary fan, I feel like you will get a lot out of this. This has a lot to do with Sin, which is, Dinah's sister. And so once all that stuff starts coming into play, this is very much a, hey, let's build the team book. But as a result, I love those types of books. There's a bunch of stuff in here about the nature of this team is like Big Barda, Zealot, we have Cassandra Cain, and then of course Harley Quinn. And I'm already a huge fan of the Big Barda like Batgirl dynamic of Little Bat. Like that whole back and forth gives me a lot of Captain. That's so good.
That was so good.
Oh my god. There's a fight scene that is just so well laid out, so well choreographed. It's like a 2-pager, and it's just showing Dinah and Cassandra Cain like fighting this group of people, and the way it moves across the page, it's amazing. But it sets up the premise at the end. I gotta say, I think one of the MVPs of this issue, who is also probably the most divisive member of the group, is Harley. Because when it was announced, some people, you have a lot of Harley supporters, and then you have the people who are like, oh my god, why is Harley in this book? And I feel like Thompson was kind of like, hey, give the first issue a shot before you kind of pass judgment and see how that fits. And I thought how they fit her into this team, and also a conversation between her and Black Canary is fantastic. Like that justifies it completely to me on its own. But I was really excited for this, and they set up an interesting thing moving forward. I believe, is this the first Birds of Prey book we have talked about, Janelle, while you've been on the show?
I think so. Yeah,
I think so. I don't think we've covered anything before. What did you think?
It's okay.
Yeah.
It was just,
Wow.
there wasn't a lot happening. They were just getting the gang together. Like, there's not much story to it other than they need to save some little girl. Who I have no emotional connection to because I don't know who they are. But everyone's like, oh my God, I'll do it for this one girl. And I'm like, okay, it must be nice because I don't know who this girl is or why she's important. But
I hope you never find yourself in a hangover situation with your girlfriend.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And then she's like, they're like, yeah, like it's not even your real sister. It's like someone you just took in. It's just, I tried to understand the story. It's fine. I probably would have liked it a lot more had I not read Batman first. And Harley steals the show to me. She's hilarious. She just makes everything fun and lighthearted, in my opinion. I love all these characters. There's not much happening in this. It's just introductions to who they are. So I can't really even judge it.
Fair enough. Wow, I'm not going to lie. That surprised me.
Yeah.
That surprised.
It's
Kofi,
just
what'd you think?
hey, I'm picking you up from here. Aren't you that person that did that thing this one time? Oh, yes, I am. Oh, well, that's cool. Nice to see that I didn't see that happen, but I get to hear about it through a memory or something. Like, I don't know. It's just
not wrong. I mean, no, you're not wrong at all. Kofi, what did you think?
I have faith, though. I think it is going to be really cool once they get into action.
Hard disagree for me. I thought this was like one of the better debut issues I've read in a long time. and it's the most interested it's ever made me in Birds of Prey. I thought Thompson's writing was really good. Leonardo Romero's art in doing that Golden Age Jack Kirby style artwork is him and Francisco Francavilla, who's done a lot of the backup stories in the Joker, the Man Who Stopped Laughing series, where they do these Golden Age Joker stories for comedic purposes. Like, these guys getting back to that Golden Age artwork is strangely working for me, like, really good. And was this the team on Hawkeye? Damon Streams the same? Kelly Thompson and
she reunited with her. Yeah, she's worked with this team before.
I didn't know that. No, but yeah, I love the artwork for this. I feel like that style fits it by keeping it almost. It gives it that little almost like Batman the Animated Series kind of fun vibe to it, even though they're going to be doing some more adult kind of like themed stuff in it. I liked that mix. And this was a heist recruit, right? Like we've all seen Rick and Morty does a great episode about like how all heist recruitment kind of stories are always the same. Hey, I haven't seen you in so long, you old so-and-so. And like, oh, I'm not doing it. All right, I'm back in. And like, that's every heist story movie. And this is a heist story. They're going to steal somebody basically from Themyscira. But it was the self-awareness of it and the character dynamics, like you said, that I think what this first issue did was really solidify this team of odd characters being put together, because this is an odd mix of characters.
Yeah, this is a weird,
Black Canary, Cassandra Cain, Big Barda, Zealot from Wildcats, of all things, going back to the early Image days. You got Zealot and Grifter in this book. I was like, what? I was like, Grifter is in this book? All right. And then like, you throw in Harley Quinn as that X Factor. It was just, every single sequence was fun to me. Like, the most bored I was just hearing Dinah and shirtless Oliver talk in bed in the beginning. Was like, the part was like, okay, is this going to pick up? But I loved it. Like, Cassandra Cain and Big Barda are already like two characters I never in a million years would have put together in my head or any fan discussions or anything. But I want to see so much more of them throughout this book already. That whole little bat dynamic. It's like Thor. So it's like Thor and Rocket Raccoon almost. Like, it's really, except that Rocket Raccoon is an actual deadly ninja assassin in this one who can actually hang with Big Barda, and that's like why Big Barda respects her, right? Like, because she is like a crazy warrior, and it's just like, but their dialogue is so funny, and just everything with Harley. It felt like, Kelly Thompson's been watching the Harley Quinn cartoon and gets that kind of animated version of Harley. There's even a panel where you see her like drawn in, quickly moving to like each person in the group and being like, oh, you're so-and-so and you're so-and-so. And so, in terms of getting this crew together, I'm already within the end of this first issue. I'm about this team of Birds of Prey. They look like fun. The last panel's hilarious where Harley finds out what they're doing and she's just like, no effing way. Like, because it is such a comic booky thing. Like, they're going to Themyscira to battle, take on the Amazons, right? So I'm in. Like, I don't think I've ever said I'm this into Birds of Prey, but I'm in. They got me.
Yeah, I gotta say the one spot, it's before the Harley conversation, but it's when they first introduce themselves to Harley, and she's like, "You guys are some kind of kill squad," and Tina's like, "Perfect reaction." She's like thinking to herself, and like, there's so many fun moments. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I'm excited for this, and moving it. And this wasn't it. So quick.
I just want to say,
Rex.
Wait, I just want to say, you can tell that Kelly Thompson really loves each of these characters. Like, knows and loves each one of them. So I have faith in this one. And I'm with Damon. I think this could win an Eisner by the end.
And speaking of that, by the way, you can go to our Comic Book Nation YouTube page and find a whole conversation where we talk about the first issue of Birds of Prey. Before it came out, she goes into why she kind of cast this book the way she did and adding all the members. So you should definitely check that out. But also this, so for my Rex this week's a little bit of both. We had a lot of good trades coming in this time around, but Blue Beetle #1 also hit. So if you're still on the Blue Beetle kick from the movie that you should have gone to see, then you can watch you can read Blue Beetle 1, which kind of kicks off a new era, picking up from Graduation Day. And we have all these new Beetles, kind of in the mix. There's some surprises in store. I adored this issue. I adored the last series as well. It picks up right from there. House of Slaughter, which is the spinoff tie-in to Something is Killing the Children. That volume 3 is out, and it is fantastic. I wasn't as high on the second volume, but the third volume, like this whole story, you should definitely.
Where are my books, Matt?
They're on.
books yet?
Look, here's the thing. I have them. I need.
Where are my books yet? You haven't
Superman,
mailed them yet?
Kal-El Returns. I haven't made it to the post office yet. Superman Kal-El Returns. Trade is in, and this was obviously when Kal returned to Earth from that whole War World adventure and everything, and kind of reuniting with his son. All of that is in this one volume, and I couldn't recommend it more. And then bringing in everything to a Captain Marvel, the last volume of the series in trade form. This one actually includes everything, the second half of the Brood War arc, and then issue 50. This is going to complete your set. If you've collected all the trades, this is the last one. This particular story in general was fantastic. Me and Janelle raved about it when it was releasing issue by issue. So you can complete your set here. So that is comics.
All right, and that'll do it for this episode of Comic Book Nation. We want to thank you guys for tuning in. As always, we are here every Friday for our live show. But like I said, you also got to subscribe to our pages because we're dropping bonus content left and right whenever there's a big TV show, movie, manga, whatever it is release. We're going to be on top of it. In fact, this week, we're going to have something for you guys next Friday. In addition to our regular show, we'll have some playthrough and some reveals from Spider-Man 2 next week. We're partnering with our comic book gaming team, and we're going to be doing that. So we're going to have some Spider-Man 2 special stuff for you next week, plus our regular show, plus an Ahsoka recap after the big episode 5 pivots and all that. It's going to be a full week again. So be sure to subscribe to Comic Book Nation on YouTube at Comic Book, all one word, -Nation, and follow us on Twitter and your favorite podcast platforms. If you want to hit us up individually, you can find me at Kofi Outlaw.
You can find me at Matt Aguilar CB.
You can find me at Janelle Wheeler.
You can find me at Connor Casey CB.
That'll do it for our show. Thank you for all our regular fans for always tuning in. Brywood, Damian Streams, all in the games, Chris Chipperson, all you guys, we love you. Thank you for always making this fun. And also shout out to Agents of Fandom and everybody over there. We love you guys too. This is Comic Book Nation. We're going to get out of here. Fall season. I'm going to go get some pumpkin spice something. I'll see you guys later. Peace.
Bye.